All right. Welcome to episode 1 of Jerry Berry's Friend-Tastic Library, the podcast where I interview everyday average people about their fantastic life. Instead of going to standard old libraries and checking out books, come to the Friend-Tastic Library and check out people. So today we are interviewing my sister, Michelle, and she's the book we're going to check out. She's a straight white single female from Pittsburgh, PA. And Michelle's going to tell us a little bit about her journey as a student or whatever happens to come up because it's her story. Who am I to judge? So, hi, Michelle.
Hi, Jerry Berry.
How are you?
I'm doing pretty good. How are you?
I'm okay. Day one.
Yeah.
It's kind of nerve-wracking, but
I feel that. I mean, I'm the first one on your podcast, so how do you think I feel?
Are you nervous?
A little bit, yeah.
That's good. Okay. So, thank you for being on the show, first and foremost. But before we dive in,
having me.
Before we dive into your story, I want to talk about the magical way that we met. I think that the way everybody meets is magical because it's weird how people are connected. So,
yeah, but like on top of it, I mean, it's just, I'm sure people listening are like, kind of like, wait a minute, didn't you introduce her as your sister? What do you mean? How did you meet?
It's true.
You know, like, didn't you just meet when one of you were brought home from the hospital?
It's true. That's what
so
you
I mean,
think,
I feel like, yeah. So I feel like ours is, it's like extra magical there, you know.
So yeah. So why don't you share your perspective of the way we met and then we'll just go from there.
So in keeping everybody happy who may ever hear this podcast, we met, I believe, in the backseat of a car. When I was about 5 years old, which for anybody listening, that meant that Jerry was 5 years old and 11 days older.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure I got in the back of the car and I looked at my father and he went, "This is your sister Jerry." And I went, "Oh, hi." And that was how we met.
Yeah, I pretty much remember it the same way. Back in good old 1997, I guess, if we were 5. So yeah. For those that don't know or that didn't gather, we're not some form of like weird twins that are 11 days apart.
Because we get that question all the time.
So we just have 2 separate moms. Technically, we're half sisters, I guess, if you want to be technical about it. Same dad, 2 different moms.
Right.
As a spoiler, I'll have a brother on here that's the same way. So, but I'm actually interested to see what he has to say about us meeting because I don't know if he was in the house whenever I was brought home from the hospital. So we'll have to hear that. I'm excited.
Right, but also let's note that he's not also just 11 days apart from you in age.
Yeah, I think he's like 8 years older. I had to ask him how old he was because I didn't know what year he was born.
You know, I don't know how old any of our siblings are, to be honest, except like you. I mean, it's kind of hard to forget your age.
Yeah, I honestly thought Randy was in his 40s, but he's not. Spoiler.
He's not?
He's like 37, I think is what he said.
Oh my God, he's going to listen to this and be like, I hate both of you.
Yeah, pretty much. So before we got to this point, you wanted to talk about, or I wanted you to talk about, or a bit of both, being a student. So what do you do?
Oh, well, so I am a full-time student I go to Penn State University, specifically the New Kensington campus. None of you are going to know where that is for sure, because I'm pretty sure it's the smallest campus Penn State has. And it's in the middle of nowhere.
For sure. Sorry,
go ahead.
Sorry. Nope. I'm sure you're going to say it. Go ahead.
Yes, I was going to say it. So I major in biobehavioral health, shortened to BBH, because that is 100% what I'm going to call it from this point forward. And I also am minoring in psychology.
Okay. I'm trying to think of the order I want to ask these questions in. So biobehavioral therapy or
biobehavioral health.
Health. Okay.
Yes.
BBH. Okay. Yep. So what does one do after college with a BBH degree?
So I want to say that about like 70% of the people who graduate with a bachelor's in BBH go on to some form of a master's program.
Okay.
That's not to say that there's like a limited amount of things that you could do with a bachelor's degree in BBH, but like a lot of the stuff that people go for when doing BBH involves also going in for a master's program.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, However, it's so biobehavioral health, it's definitely the health industry. You can do a lot when it comes to inside of hospitals, and specifically the way that Penn State New Kensington campus focuses on it. There's a lot of research involved, and with an actual bachelor's in BBH, you can go on to work on research projects and in like different lab settings and things like that when it comes to the bachelor's. But when you move
That's
on to
cool.
the master's program, it's things like, for me, genetic counseling. Um, and then, like pharmacology,
Oh.
anything medicine based. You can even go on for like the doctorate stuff and, like a physical therapist. There's a lot. It's
Oh,
like I'm having
that's
like a
cool.
major brain fart right now, but there's like a lot that goes with it.
I had no idea. So is the minor in psychology because you want to do genetic therapy? Is that what you called it? Genetic therapy?
Genetic counseling.
Genetic
You're
counseling?
stuck on the word therapy today.
I am,
Uh,
because I need to see a therapist for sure. But
I feel that, don't we all? Yeah,
so
no, so that is why I'm trying to focus on a psych minor,
okay.
because, as the name, would suggest, there is a form of counseling that goes in hand with being a genetic counselor.
Yeah.
So I felt that having a little bit of that understanding of like how a clinician works in that manner would be beneficial to me.
I love psychology. I love it. I took 4 psychology classes at community college and I have my AA in psychology, but I did not pursue psychology because there's no jobs or money in it where I live. I don't know if
Yeah,
that's like a
exactly.
I don't know if that's like a US issue or just like a California issue.
So it's definitely
Uh,
a United States issue for sure, but that's actually really changing. Um, if you look at the numbers, I don't know the exact amount, but like the need for psychologists, clinicians, therapists, things like that, ju- just because of 2020 has gone
yeah.
up like 200%.
Yeah, it makes sense.
So my current professor that I'm taking an abnormal psychology class with is like, so if you want to be a clinician, now's the time. Like, this is, you will never run out of work at this point.
Yeah. I remember one of my favorite psych professors. Um, I honestly can't even tell you her name, but not that I know that I'd want to name drop her anyways, because she probably not doesn't want her name dropped either way.
Right.
Uh, I asked her why she chose being a professor, and she said that whenever she had gotten done with college, they kind of throw you into jobs where you work at a place as the therapist on site, so you're just forced to see all these people, and these people are kind of forced to see you to work at wherever they're working, or you're in like a mental health facility, so it's
Hmm.
very emotionally draining, and it just gets very like not daunting. I don't think daunting is the word, but it gets very like mundane.
Right.
So then she just decided to go back for the education part, and she became a professor. And then that's whenever I was like, yeah, I don't really want to do that. I don't want to get out and do that. I'd want to like just have my own practice. But I guess you can't just come out of school and have your own practice, because
Yeah,
you
I don't
can't
I
like
don't
hit
think
up
it
your
works quite that
friends
way.
and ask them if they want to see you for
Be like, hey,
therapy.
you, therapist.
So
Hey, yo,
yeah.
let me prescribe you some pills because
Yes.
I know you be destructive.
So yeah, that's how that went. But the one like I'm trying to think of if I want to get into like this question already. Okay, I'll start with this. What does so how many I'm sorry, I'm collecting myself.
You're good.
Would you say that this is one of those standard 4-year degrees for a bachelor's, or do you think it's one of the ones where you need like a victory lap or a 5th year?
So I mean, like, I started at a weird time, right? Like, I actually started college in the spring of 2019.
Yeah, I
And
started a spring semester as well.
yeah, so that always like sets things off track. But while taking classes every summer, I've taken 2 classes every summer. Um, I'm set to graduate uh the end of next year, so fall 2022. So
Okay.
that'll be the actual 4 years. And I started at CCAC for a year and then transferred to Penn State. And there were a few credits that didn't even transfer, or that didn't transfer correctly. Now,
Yeah.
granted, I know that most people, when they are like in school, they take about 4 classes a semester.
Yeah.
I have taken 5 every semester.
Yeah. That was my next question, was like,
um,
how loaded is it?
it's
Because
pretty
I know like
loaded.
I know my major in my classes, if you were going to become a statistician with a bachelor's, or even a mathematician with a bachelor's in 4 years, and do it in 4 years, you'd have to take 5 to 6 classes every semester. It's rough.
Yeah, so my advisor sat down with me and basically told me that like I would have to take 5 classes every semester, and that I would probably also have to take some summer classes, which, like I said,
Yep.
I've done that every summer.
Yeah,
And
I
I'm
did most
scheduled to
of
do
my
that this
summers.
summer too.
Yep.
Um, so it's been hard, and especially like next semester, I'm actually going to be taking 6 classes, and it's definitely the semester I'm most worried about, because 5 of those 6 are major related. So they're like the actual like BBH classes. Um, and I'm pretty nervous.
Yeah, I would be too. But I think I did the same thing. So is next semester, you'll have a semester after that one.
Correct. Yeah.
Um, so did you set it up to where your very last semester was chill?
Yeah, I should only have to take about 4 classes.
Yeah, because that's what I did. I made my last semester like some of the easiest ones, and I think I took like barely 12 classes. I think I had to take like a half unit or whole unit yoga class to fill my 12-unit requirement for housing
Yeah.
and full-time status.
So the other thing too is like, even if I do end up having to take 5 classes, I don't think I have to take a single one of them as one of my major required classes. So they're all going to be like those, university wide offerings, gen eds, things like
Yeah,
that,
yeah, yeah. That's cool.
which are definitely the ones that are considered, I don't want to call them easy, but you know what I mean? Like they're not as
Yeah,
stressful. They are a bit
yeah,
more laid back, especially like as my senior year. Well,
yeah. They're
like
probably
I'll be like,
gonna
oh,
be
this is
like
a
full
piece of
of
cake.
freshmen and like or sophomores, so you're already
Right.
like vetted. Yeah, I did the
Right.
same thing. I had like a very so I've been reaching out to people and asking them if they'd want to be on the podcast. And there's I have a lot of friend math professors because I thought I was going to become a math professor, and I've always been like the kid that becomes friends with their teachers. So
Same.
like in high school, I liked my teachers more than my peers. So
Same.
yeah, I so I reached out to one of them because I follow them on Instagram. What a time to be alive. And
Right.
I was like, hey, do you want to be on this podcast? And he was like, sure, but I'm going to have to wait until winter break. I just handed out midterms, so I have like no time coming out. And I instantly had like a very like visceral panic, at like almost panic, not like literally. I don't want to like be over exaggerating, but my body
Right.
had like a very instantaneous, like the chemicals in my brain were not firing properly whenever they heard the term midterms. Like I still have I'm still like coming down off of school. It's so traumatic. Like I can't.
It is. Yeah. Like I am at this point where I don't know when exactly I'm going to actually do some form of a master's program, but I can certainly tell you that it will not be
Yeah.
directly after fall of 2022. I'm burnt out. And like, even just like right now, like I'm so excited because it's Thanksgiving break for me. Like today was my day where I was just like, oh, once it hit 2:15, I was free. I
Yeah.
don't have to go back until the 29th. Um, but I sit here and like I'm like, okay, but I have to do this and I still have to finish this project. But okay, I did finish the psychology project. Oh, but I'm definitely gonna have another draft of the annotated bibliography. And I have to make that poster. And that's not finished yet. And I have to finish this paper and it's a group paper. And like I've got all this going through my head and I keep replaying it
Yeah.
because at the end of the day, while I just rattled those things off, that was basically it. And I don't mean that was basically it for this weekend or for next week. That was basically it for this semester,
Yeah.
other than a few exams that I'm going to have at the finals week. But that's it. Like I'm almost done with the semester and I've been waiting for this moment. And so for me, it's like, that can't be it. There's no way. There must be more. Something else
Yeah.
must be due. There has to be something else.
Yeah. I
Because you're
would
just so
I would
used to
always go
it
through
always
like a
being there.
what oh I'm sorry, what? I missed
Oh,
the
I just
last
said,
part.
because you're so used to it always being there. Like there's always something you have to do, always something else to finish.
Yeah, it's like a stress detox that I would have to go through during breaks or like semesters off. But
Right.
I wanted to bring up, you're cool with like talking about being a mom, right? I think we discussed
Yeah,
this
no,
before.
absolutely. Yeah, we can absolutely
Okay.
talk about that.
So one of my big questions was like, um, I don't really know that I ever explained to my kid that I was going to college. I think he just knew that I go to school and he goes to school, but my school day is like really weird compared to his because I don't go from like 7 to 2, you know?
Right.
But and then whenever it got time for me to go to work, he thought that like I guess in his brain he always knew that we went to school in different places, but then whenever it was time for me to go to work, the only person that he knew that worked was my mom. So he assumed that work was one place and that me and my mom must work to, like, work is a place that adults go, and that we work
Okay.
together. It was like a weird light bulb in his head one of the nights that, oh, it was because Chris, my husband, for the listeners, brought the kids to my work to visit them, and my son, who's 7, was like, where is grandma? And I was like, grandma's at her work, this is my work. And he's like, I thought work was work, right? So
Right.
anyways,
Yeah. It's, what do you mean? She's at her work. Like, what are you talking about?
so this is a long story just to ask, like, I don't want to say his name unless you want to, so I'll leave that up to you, but does your kid understand that you are in school, or have you explained it to him, or does he ask questions about it? Like, because I always
Yeah.
want to say
So
my kid's name. It's really hard for me to refrain from it because I'm trying not to like put him
yeah, I'm
too
gonna
much
try
in
to
the
do the
light. You
same.
never know.
Right.
But
Right.
um I like he's just always known me going to school. Like, I started while he was pregnant, a bunch of stuff happened and I just kept going. So it took me forever and ever and ever to finally get a degree, but he's never known anything different. So I don't think I've ever explained it to him.
I mean, so my son's 5, for the listeners to know. Uh, he just turned 5. And he has a pretty decent understanding of the fact that I go to school and I work, because I also work at my school. I have a work study position,
Oh yeah, I guess I did that
as
too. It
the,
was, yeah. Yeah, yeah.
yeah. So but like usually, he just thinks like, oh, I'm going to school. Like this morning, I said, like, well, you have school, which is daycare for him right now. He's not in kindergarten this year. And so you have school and I have school. Well, I have work, I think is what I said. And he was like, and school. And I was like, well, no, this today I don't actually have any classes because my one class wasn't meeting today. And I was like, so I'm just going to work. But I think a lot of where his understanding comes from for me is that over the summer, I'm going to toot my own horn here for a minute. I won an achievement award. Uh,
Ooh.
don't ask me what it was for. Honest to goodness, I don't know what I did to get it. Uh,
I remember you telling me that story.
yeah. So I was supposed to go to this like banquet and like get my award, and everybody was going to be there. We were going to be socially distanced, by the way, people. That was going to be a thing. Everybody had to wear masks, but like I was going to get like a picture with like my major professor, like the head of the department for BBH. Um, if anybody is curious, I'm sure you could look that up on Penn State's website. Uh, but anyway, and then I get COVID, right? So I couldn't go then, but I still had to go pick up like the award. There were some prizes with it. It was decent. Um, and so I go to the school and I take him with me because I don't have a choice. Like he's not going to daycare at this point due to COVID. I'm
Yeah.
on all online schooling, so there's no point for him to go, right? Um, and so he comes with me and he's like, is this where you go to school? And I'm like, yeah. He's like, is this where you work? And I'm like, yeah, like specifically right here at the IT help desk. And like, so he got a kick out of it. He was able to see it, which I think really helped connect that all for him. So now like we'll be out and see like the Nittany Lion and the Penn State, like, you know, I don't want to say flag because it's not, but like
Yeah, like the whatever, like the banners or whatever.
the emblem of Penn State, you'll see it. And
Yeah.
he'll be like, Mommy, that's where you go to school. yeah, the banners. Like, that's where you go to school and that's where you work. And I'm like, yeah, it is. So he does have a little bit of an understanding, but I don't think like he really gets it. Because I mean, how does a 5-year-old truly understand, like, oh, my mommy's going to school to get a degree to make money so we can live a better life?
Yeah. Jared actually, see, I did it. I knew I was going to do it. It's fine. But I don't care. So he'll just be mad at me later. They all end up in therapy anyways. So
Right. I mean, yeah.
he asked
And then
me,
he'll tell you that it's this moment, this, I'm sorry,
yeah,
buddy. Aunt Shell tried to protect you. I did, really.
yeah, exactly. So he'll have the therapist listen. It'll be fine. So it's
Like, listen to these crazy women that I had to grow up with. Why do you think I'm here? How do you think I'm feeling? Listen to my mother.
So he asked about, like, he's been learning more about money because as you get older, that's what you have to do. And so he was like, oh, I can't wait to get a job and get money. But then he's like, how do you get money at your job? I don't understand how this works. So we had to explain to him that whenever you get a job, you go to work and they pay you for your time, but it's all, and he's like, well, how much do they pay? Right. That's all he cares about because he wants to buy video games.
Right.
So,
Right.
so we're trying to explain this concept, but then I start thinking about it and I'm like, it's a very complex concept that every person does. I guess you don't have to, but every person in some way has to make money. And the way they make it is very different person to person. And the amount they make is very different person to person. And then I haven't even like scratched the surface of talking about taxes because he's 7. So like
Yeah, I could just see you sitting him down. All right, son. So we're gonna talk all about this. So here's this. Now let's get into taxes. He's gonna be like, yo, how do I buy video games? That's all I wanted to know.
That's all he cares about. Because he's like, well, do they pay you $100? And I'm like, no, they pay me per hour. And he's like, okay, well, if I work, then it's like a game. Because he's like, well, I can work for like 24 hours straight and make this much money. And I'm like, that's not how the world works. That you have to go to work when they go to work, like whatever they tell you to. So,
right. I mean, I guess he could work in a hospital, and I'm pretty sure they work over 24 hours sometimes. So that's the life he wants to live.
But yeah, so I don't think I don't know, I just hope that he remembers it at least, so that later on he can say like, oh, my mom did all of this, so that means I can do it too, I guess. I don't know. We never had parents that went to college. I don't think your mom went to college, did she?
I think she went to like a some type of schooling. She was going to do something with like nursing, I think, but she didn't finish it, obviously, as my mother's not a nurse.
Yeah. Like my mom late, like much later in life, like very recently, has done certification classes, but those are like 2 or 3 day things here or there.
Right.
She's never gone to official school. She's never gone through the process of applying for college, doing orientation, the whole bit. And then I had to ask our father for like scholarship purposes and stuff if he had ever been to school, and he said that he had some, like, he had to take classes at a community college for certifications back in the day for like electrician stuff, because he worked on houses and whatnot and had to be like, certified. Right. But that was it. So yeah, I never saw parents going to college. And I never thought I was going to go to college, and it was a whole thing. So then whenever I did go, I was like, man, this is a gigantic learning curve. And I don't know, it's so cliche, but I don't know why that's not a high school class. Maybe it is now, or maybe it was, and I didn't know about it because I didn't want to go. But yeah.
No, I think there's a lot of things that high school fails at to like prepare you for, like going out into the real world. But I don't know that in our situation that we would have really had a class in high school. Like, I'm pretty sure there wasn't one of like how to handle going to college after you've had a kid when you weren't expecting to. Well,
yeah, that too. Like that wasn't available. And I think the only kids going to high school that knew about college and the process were the kids that were in the SAT prep classes. And those kids in my high school specifically were the children of college graduates that were doctors or lawyers. So their parents knew exactly how to prepare them. But yeah,
and that's, you actually hit on a really good point there. I feel like my parents, and this isn't to say that my parents didn't do a good job, or that they failed in some manner. But like my parents definitely never prepared me for college. But it wasn't at any fault of their own, other than the fact that they themselves did not go to college. So they did
Yeah.
not know how to prepare me for college.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. I mean, dad
so
wanted me to go to college. He was really pissed whenever I told him I was not going to college after high school. And I moved out before I even graduated, and it was a whole thing. But
I consistently forget that you moved out before you graduated.
yeah, I finished. I had my degree. I just didn't live there after I turned 18. So yeah, he was very, very upset. And then I went to art school just to be like, whatever. I don't know. But
I was actually
uh,
just talking about you being in art school, so that's so funny you brought that up.
yeah, I never put it on anything because it's a private school. So they always say like, yeah, even if it's private, you have to put it on your paperwork. I never do. No one ever knows about it.
Does it even exist anymore?
I
I
don't
don't think
know.
the Art Institute exists anymore.
It might not. It might have failed during the pandemic because as far as I knew, the Art Institute only had like 2 campuses like nationwide, and it was like in Chicago and Pittsburgh, I think.
That's like the most random places ever.
I don't, yeah, it was I didn't realize that it was prestigious whenever I went there. It's just where all the art kids in Pittsburgh went.
I
Um,
just Googled it rather quickly and it apparently is still a thing, but like I literally never hear anybody talk about it.
yeah, and it's just, yeah, it's a very weird place, but I met really
Oh
cool
no,
people.
sorry, more information. It closed in 2019.
Yeah, I figured the pandemic would hurt something like that, or maybe what, I don't know, whatever. It's very, very expensive. I don't recommend private colleges to people. Um, so
Don't
because I
recommend
still
college
to
to
this
people who don't want to spend money.
yeah, I still owe $2,000 from 2 semesters of the Art Institute of Pennsylvania. It just sits there
Holy
because
crap.
I've been in college forever. So
Yeah, so the loans just keep getting deferred.
yeah, now they're gonna start charging me like in January, but it's all combined now with like my CSU and B loans. So I'll just pay them all off together. It's all in the
Right.
same like place. But yeah.
That's
Um,
crazy.
I don't know where I was going with this, but
I don't
oh,
know.
we were talking about like, yeah, so I don't think it was my fault. I don't think it was our parents' fault that I didn't know about college. They just didn't know about college. I remember my mom telling me that college isn't necessary because she didn't go to college and blah, 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 blah. And I think now that I'm a parent, she probably meant it in a good way and was trying to be like, no, keep your options open. But it was like the way she said it whenever I told her I wanted to go to art school sounded very like off-putting to me at the time. And I was like, oh, well, she's not supporting me. So
No, I get that.
but yeah, because I know that I feel the same way that she does now, where I'm not going to force my kids in the slightest to go to college, like not even an inkling of forcing them to go to college. I
Right.
just want them to do what they want to do, um because I don't think it's necessary. I just knew that it's something I had to do.
Yeah, no, and like I mean, I think it's really important and I think it's something that like school, like high school should cover but does not. That college isn't the answer, like is not always the answer.
Uh-uh.
Sure, like if I want to be a genetic counselor, I kind of have to go to college, right? Like
Yeah.
that's necessary. That's a necessary component.
Yeah.
However, if I want to be an electrician, I don't have to go to college for that.
Nope.
Like that's not something that's not required. I can go to trade school if I want to, or I can just go get the job and they teach you.
Yeah.
Like,
And like to
and
my
in some cases they make very good money, if not more money than many, college graduates will eventually make. And guess what? They don't have any student loans to pay either. So
yeah, yeah, like to my mom's point, her thing was like, I didn't go to college and I made it. And it's like you always have the option to start at the bottom somewhere and hope that you can
right,
work your way up with like, passion and determination. But
right.
and then I think about it and I'm like, well, with how long it took me to get done with school, I probably could have started from the bottom somewhere. But for a normal person that doesn't change their major 8 times in college and pick a college that ends up closing the first time, like if
Oh
it's
yeah, I forget about that.
yeah, if you finish in 4 years, then you probably will start at a higher paying job quicker than somebody that started from the bottom and worked for 4 years. Like I think most of the time that's how it works out, but it also depends on the person and what's available at the time and
Right.
blah blah blah. But yeah, that's why I tell people, like, not that I tell people, but I always like to share that I don't believe in private colleges anymore after like the Art Institute and then picking a private college that was called Healed. And it was I'm just gonna like go on a soapbox for a minute, but Healed was owned by the
You
same
run
people
this
that owned
soapbox.
other colleges, and I can't even like I remember the commercials of the guy or the girl being like, get off your couch and call now, like get your life together. I was on the street selling
Oh my
drugs, right?
gosh.
Like, do you remember those commercials, or was that
Yes.
just me?
Yes.
Like whatever
No,
those
no.
colleges
Yeah.
were.
It was it like Education Connection or
Yes,
something?
yes. So like that and
That's it.
Healed and other colleges were all owned by the same company, and they're all for-profit colleges, which means they're only in business to make money. They actually don't care about you at all. And so a bunch of them
Love
always
that.
get lawsuits against them because they false advertise. And so that's what happened in my case. I went to a college named Healed because I was pregnant and I needed to go to school because I just wanted to fast track a way to make good money because I was pregnant. And so that's what those colleges do. The University of Phoenix is one of them, but somehow the University of Phoenix tends to stay afloat, and now they've changed their name, I think. I don't think they're the University of Phoenix anymore. But yeah, so it was one of those colleges where it was like, you can be a medical assistant in 18 months or get your business degree in 18 months. And so I picked business. And I took like I was on my third semester. I was finishing my third semester whenever they were like, yeah, we're closed now. Like literally, it was like they locked the doors one night and they never opened them again. And so
Right.
employees were just like done. Like that's the end of their thing now. And the students were just out. And so what happens is those college credits aren't good anywhere, like literally anywhere, because it's a for-profit college. They fast track all the classes, so they don't give you any info that you need to move on. So then you're just stuck starting over. And your option at that point, for anybody that doesn't know, if you have to take out student loans to go to college, your option at that point is to keep all of those classes and try to find another for-profit college to take your classes on and let you finish that way. Or you have to pretend like you never took those classes again and they'll forgive all your student loans. So I
That's
was like,
so
okay,
wild.
we'll pretend I never went here and we'll cancel all my student loans. So I didn't have to pay any
Oh
of that
my
back, luckily,
gosh.
because it would have been thousands of dollars, way
Right.
more
But
than the Art
still,
Institute.
like,
And then, but then like the weird thing that happens is here for California State University, I don't know if this is all universities or all states or whatever, but California State University policy is that either you start at Cal State right after high school, or you take classes at another college and transfer, but you have to finish so many courses at this other college before you can transfer. You have to have like 60 units or 60 credits in specific gen ed courses before you can transfer there.
wow.
So and it's mainly because they partner with the community colleges in California to make perfect tracks that way. So I kind of understand it, but so then I apply there and they're like, you can't come here because you went to Healed. And I was like, but no, I pretended like I didn't go there. They told me it wouldn't exist because they closed, their credits don't count and I'm not paying for it. And they're like, yeah, but in the system, you still went to a different college. So then I ended up going to community college, which was probably for the best because I have like virtually no loans. But yeah,
Wow,
that was
that's
just
wild.
my long soapbox of don't go to for-profit colleges or private
Yeah, don't do
colleges.
that. That sounds like a horrible plan. My goodness. Yeah. I mean,
And then
I would like to just add in like don't go to college. Just I don't
that
mean
too.
that. I don't mean that, but like I do somewhat. Because like
I
wow.
I give college a solid 5 out of 10. Like,
Like I can't even tell you how many times I text random people 5 out of 10. I'm with you. I don't know. I think I'd give it a 4. But like I text people like every day, all day, and I'm just like, I don't want to do this anymore.
yep,
Like,
yep.
like, just a fellow student and I were just communicating yesterday, and this student was like, I just want to drop this class. I want to delete my paper and drop this class. And like, I, the thing is like, of course, my immediate response is no, don't do that. We're almost done. You're right there. Like, it's okay. You're gonna make it, right? But like on the inside, I was like, yeah, like, you want to do it together?
Yep.
Because I'm with you.
I
Like, I'm
can't
done. I'm so done.
I can't even count the number of times that students or like, peers would text or message or whatever and say the same thing. And I give them the biggest pep talk of the century simply because I can't do this alone and I need you with me. So
That's part of it.
it's like partially selfish. I'm like, no, you can't quit because I can't pass without you here.
Right.
So it's not even about
Right.
being in group projects. Like I just need the group to stay the group to get through it.
I just need you here, because if you're not here, how will I be able to talk to somebody about this?
Yeah.
Like, if you're not here, we can't talk about this, and I don't know what to do.
Yeah.
Well, like this
And then
the student I was talking about, she I wasn't going to gender drop her, but she she and I have become like very close, mostly because all we do is, for my first curse word dropping on here, mostly because all we do is bitch about school. Like, we're just like, okay, I'm done. You done? Let's go jump off a bridge together. All right, that sounds pretty solid.
I
I can't tell
remember
you how many times I've told her I want to throw my computer out the window.
I remember having like the cliche daydream that you get into some sort of accident that's just bad enough to make people feel bad for you because you end up in the hospital like for about a week and all your professors would just like forgive anything. Like
Yeah. Oh, so listen, I will tell you that
I
if
remember
you want
daydreaming
that to
that.
happen, getting COVID was a great way for that to happen. Also, having a sick child is a great way. Like, that sounds horrible. But so like when I had COVID and my son got COVID as well, or at least it was presumed, he was never positively tested, but we were both sick, and every single one of my professors, I realized they were obligated to, they had no choice. However, the, they were like, they were above and beyond, like my genetics professor was like, oh my gosh, like, don't even worry about the homework. You get it to me whenever. We've got a test coming up. Do you need another week? You're good. Like, you just tell me when you want to do these assignments and tests, and we'll be good. And like so many of my professors were that way and like didn't make me even log into class. Like, they're like, just go sleep, you're fine. Um, and then here, actually just last week, I couldn't go, like, I'm back on campus now, right? Like, I'm in person for the first time
Yeah.
this semester since COVID. And which was a jarring experience. But last week I was home all week because my son was sick. And I had no choice. He couldn't go to daycare. I'm a single mother, for anybody who has not figured that out yet.
Yeah.
Uh, I'm doing it all on my own. So I don't have, somebody here on a daily basis that I can split that up with, where it could have been like, oh, okay, well, I'll go to school Monday, you go to work Tuesday, I'll go to school Wednesday, like, that's not a thing. Um, and my professors, again, were just fantastic. And maybe I'm just lucky, maybe I'm just like lucky in the fact that I have these awesome professors where they were like, oh no, you're good, just log in on Zoom, you're fine. Like, we're good, we got this. Like, you're totally fine. And every time I log in, they're like, oh, hi, Michelle, how's your son? Is he doing good? And then of course my kid's there on camera waving, hi,
Yeah.
totally looking great, except he's got red bumps all over his face because he had hand, foot, and mouth. But
Yeah. I had really cool professors most of the time. I think early on in community college, I had some crappy professors because they're early on community college professors that just see the worst students. Um,
Yeah,
so,
I get
but
that.
yeah, throughout like my CSUMB adventure, after I transferred from community college, all my professors were super duper sweet. And I remember all of them asking whenever Zoom University started, they would all ask like how my kids are doing. And because I had the second baby while I was at CSUMB. And so
Right.
um yeah, they would all like ask how my pregnancy was going. They were excited to see the baby after she was born, that kind of
Your
stuff.
son's gonna watch this one and be like, oh sure, mom, oh sure, you name dropped me, but you didn't name drop my sister. Well,
She'll probably come up eventually. But yeah, speaking on like the single mom thing, just a shout out to my husband Chris for marriage purposes as evidence to all listeners ever. I hope I make it famous and I can tell him on episode 1 I thanked him for supporting me while I went to school. Put that on
honestly,
like the marriage scoreboard, 1 Jerry.
right, yeah, right. One Jerry, zero Chris. No,
Yeah,
except I think Chris has about like 10,000 above you right now.
probably.
Uh,
He's the best. It's
he is.
disgusting how good he is, but I get sick of it. Yeah. So
divorce is an option.
no, I can't do that. Then I'd have to like do it all by myself. And no offense, but
Yeah, I
you
don't
don't make
recommend
it
that.
sound good. You don't make it
No, it's
sound-
not. I
whenever
don't
you talk
recommend
to
it at
me, you
all,
don't make it sound
actually.
good. Like,
Listen, if I didn't have my mother, I wouldn't be here. I'll tell you that. So I'll thank her. And I mean, Jace's father. Ah, the name came out. Dang it. All right, fine. Jace's father has definitely stepped up. But it's just hard being here by myself is the thing, like that's where it's difficult.
yeah, I couldn't even
But
imagine it.
yeah, so I mean, I think you should give it a solid try. No, don't. It's horrible, especially with two. Oh,
Yeah, I don't even remember what show it was on, but it was some type of comedy show where the guy's married but he's complaining about his wife all the time, and his buddies are like, why don't you just get a divorce, dude? And he was like, because right now I only have to be a dad 100% of the time, like 20% of the time. He was like, if I get a divorce, I have to be a dad 100% of the time, like 50% of the time. I was like, that sounds like the realest thing I've ever heard. I know the math doesn't make sense on that, but
okay, but only because you're the math person. I'm like, I followed that logic perfectly.
yeah, it made sense to me. Oh, I was gonna say that back when we were talking about like grades and stuff. Um, since I don't know if I was gonna ask you because I don't know if all majors do this as like students in general, because I've only been around math people for so long, that I start calculating how many things I could not turn in or fail before I fail the class. And like that was what all of
Okay,
us would do.
so I'm pretty sure this is like and I'm gonna say this in full offense of myself. I'm pretty sure that's a smart person thing. Well, because I've never heard any of my fellow BBHers being like, well, I mean, I'm at a blah, blah, blah percent. And if I like don't turn in this, which is worth blah, blah, blah percent towards my grade, that'll only bring me to a blah, blah, blah percent and I'll be totally fine. But I work at the IT help desk as my work study position at Penn State University. And my fellow IT department coworkers that are students at Penn State, and they're all going for some form of like
STEM or something.
computer IT,
Yeah.
yeah, something like that, right? I think it's called like IST is the actual degree or whatever that they're all in. And I hear them say that stuff all the time. And like even today, like I'm sitting there, I'm trying to do some homework while like we don't have anything going on. And my coworker was like, just don't turn it in. And I'm like, it's worth 30% of my grade. And he's like, yeah, probably don't do that actually.
Yeah. Like we had exact conversations that you just said. And we were also all of us in the very beginning. I remember we would like gather in the library or in a Zoom chat or whatever and be like, okay, so they said homework was worth this much of our grade. And they said there's going to be about 16 assignments, which means we don't have to turn in, we can fully not turn in 3 of them and still get like an A in homework, right? Like, and that's what we would
Oh my
do.
gosh.
And it was the same with finals. We would say like, okay, I have to at least get 7 questions right on this final to pass this class. But if I get this many questions right on this final, then I'll get like a B, which will be even better. So that's what I'm hoping for.
Yeah, I
Like,
legitimately heard that exact conversation today between two of my coworkers, like that exact thing. So like on the final, I need to get this many questions and I'll be totally
mhm,
fine.
yep.
And like I'm just like, how do you guys even figure that out? Because like I'm clearly not that type of a smart person.
It's
Like,
I don't know, like again, I don't know if this is all students or just like math students that I'm surrounded by in college, but it was like uh whenever the professors would announce a test, hardly ever would students ask what questions would be on it. They would say, how much is it, like how many points is it, or how much of a percentage is it of our grade, and how many questions are going to be on the test. So then once you know how many questions are going to be on the test, then you can figure out like how much each question is worth, and then you can go from there.
you
But yeah.
lost me at they didn't ask what questions were on the test. That's where you lost me because that's the
Because
only question I care about.
because to math, I think like mathy brained people, they're like, it doesn't matter what's on it, I just need to know how many I need to get right, and then I'll concern myself with like what's on it.
I will say that I did this once, and it was during a math class at CCAC actually that I did that I kept track of every like test score that I had because the homework, there was no homework in this class. There was homework that you could do, but it was not graded at all.
Oh, that's how
It
my
was
bio
just simply
classes
like
were.
practice. God, I wish my bio classes were that way. Uh,
They only got graded on tests.
so this class, we got graded on tests only. And so I would keep track of it all. And when it came time for the final, I was like, all right, looking at this, knowing that this is how it works, this is how many questions I absolutely have to get right. And so I went through and I took the test, and then I went back through and I was like, I know I got that one. I know I got that one. I know I got that one. I'm not so sure about this one, but I'll probably get partial because of the fact that I showed some work. Right. And I would go through and do that. And like, I remember doing that and quietly, but probably loud enough for the people near me pre-COVID. So we were sitting rather close. um I was like, I got to like, I don't know, number 27 and was like, yes, because I was like,
Yeah.
knowing positively in my mind that I was like, I don't need to look at anything else in here. I know that I'm good. I know that I got the grade I need. I'm gonna have an A.
Yeah, I
Like,
did that for every test I ever took in college. I would always figure out how many points, how many questions
wild.
I needed to get right to pass. And then I would go through it as quickly as possible and answer the ones that I know for sure, add up the questions that I got right, and then go back through and try to fill them in. And I think a huge piece of advice for anybody in any math class ever is to, like, if you don't even know how to begin that, you just need to like write a formula. That'll take you so far in life. I can't tell you how many half credits I've gotten on test questions just by writing the formula to show that I think I know what I'm doing. I'm not
Jerry, this
gonna
is
do
really helpful
any of
now
the
that
work.
I'm not in any more math classes.
Because
Thank
so
you for
many
waiting.
professors are like astonished that you even know that first step, even though you don't know like what to plug into it or anything. But yeah.
I get that.
The
Yeah, that
other,
was the one thing about math that I really did enjoy. The only thing, I'm sorry, let me correct that. The only thing about math that I enjoyed was the fact that professors were like, tried, here's some half credit. Like,
yeah, yeah. I've also gone down, I've also plugged, like, written a formula down and plugged all the numbers in and circled an answer, knowing that I was not doing the right thing, but just them seeing that I tried something, I would get half credit. Like, it's clearly
yeah,
not the right thing at all,
I've definitely done that.
and still get it. But I did work, and they saw that I did work, and they were like, "Oh, she had an idea." So,
She had an idea. It was wrong, but she had an idea.
so, but yeah, I think the only other like really big question that I love like asking people in general, and I don't think I've ever asked you this, but do you,
I'm sorry. She says during her first podcast, she
well,
loves asking this question. Sorry.
no, so I like asking this question out in like real life, not on podcasts. So I plan to
Authentic.
ask this to people on podcasts, but out in like real life while I was going to college, like, can you recall like a day or a moment where you were like, I'm going to school for this, right? Like, I guess first of all, did you, I know you went to CCAC like a while ago, but whenever you started at CCAC, did you know BBH was like end game, or did you change your
Absolutely not.
major?
Absolutely
Okay.
not. So, funny story. I'll go through that because it's actually kind of hilarious. And like, really have to shout out to my mom and stepdad because like they were super chill. So it's important to note that I was living with my mother at this time.
Yeah.
And so I'm living there. I have my son with me. It's 2019. So he's what, 3? Did I do that math right?
Yeah, because
Uh,
he was born 2 years after mine. So yeah.
yeah. So he's 3. Or he's not quite 3 yet. He will be 3 basically that year. So he's 2, 2.5. I'm living there. I've been living there since before he was born. And yeah, I've had a very successful life, guys. That's what you just all heard, listeners. So I'm like, I lost my job at the worst company in the world, which I'll go ahead and name drop it because I really hate them. Comcast, don't ever work for them. They're horrible. It's life sucking, soul sucking, awful.
Just a quick tangent. I had to go into a Best Buy today to pick up a Wi-Fi extender to do this podcast. And I instantly was like, oh God, because I worked at Best Buy
It's
13
so
years
funny because
ago.
like
13 years ago,
13
I do, but that place still leaves me such a bad taste. I don't even like walking into it.
that's so wild to me because Best Buy was my favorite place that I ever worked, but like I specifically worked for Geek Squad. So it was a whole different world than what you dealt with.
Yeah.
But anyway, so Comcast, horrible, don't work there. Geek Squad, however, fantastic, favorite job. Um, some days really wish I could just go back and quit school.
I have
So
nightmares
anyway,
that I'm going to Best Buy to beg for my job back.
That's awful.
Uh-huh.
I have those nightmares about Steak and Shake. Uh,
I often forget that I worked at Steak and Shake because I had so much fun there and I didn't really work.
exactly, which is why you don't have nightmares about it.
Anyways, so you were at
anyway,
Comcast, you lost your
I'm
job or
at
you quit your
Comcast,
job.
lost my job, lost
That's it.
it. Horrible. Yeah, it was terrible. Moving on, because I could keep going. Hellfire. Walk through hellfire before you apply for a job at Comcast. So anyway, I hope my old boss listens to this. So this was like November 2018. So I'm like, you know what? I'm just gonna go back to school. Like, I need to go to school, like get on with my life, right? Have no idea what I'm gonna go for. No clue. Not a
Yep.
flying idea.
Same.
And I'm like, okay, sure. So I'm like, all right, mom, Mark, my stepdad. And I'm like, hey, I'm gonna go to school for 2 years. I'll get an associate's degree and then I'll be out of your hair. Right. So like I just need to live here for 2 more years, right?
Insert like Morgan Freeman voice. It would not be 2 years.
It would so not be 2 years. It ended up being less. Great. Like, for the good news here is that I did move out in the year of 2019. And I do live in my own apartment with my son. But we're not there yet. We're not there
Yeah.
yet. So I was like, I'm just gonna live here another 2 years. And they were like, all right, okay, fine, like sure, great. And then so I like go to CCAC, I sign up for classes, I start doing all that stuff. I'm just taking a whole bunch of gen eds, right? Because I don't know what I'm doing yet. And it's my first semester. I got lucky here. First semester, I'm in an intro to bio class. My professor up there, she's, going through stuff. And all of a sudden, I'll be completely honest, I wasn't paying close attention, because this is where we learned about Punnett squares. And somehow I became obsessed with Punnett squares, funnily enough, given my, chosen job field now. And all of a sudden she says the words genetic counseling. And I'm like, what is that? What is genetic counseling? And this light bulb goes off in my head. And so at this point, I had already, without speaking to my parents about it, made the decision that I wasn't just going to go for an associate's degree, that I was going to go for a 4-year degree, but I was going to do 2 years at CCAC and then 2 years somewhere else. And I was interested in something sciencey, but I wasn't sure if I wanted social science or natural science. I had actually been talking with this intro to biology professor about it. And then she says genetic counseling, and my head like snaps up and I'm looking at the screen, but she was just like mentioning it and we moved on. And I was like, no, I need more information. So class ends, I go up to her and I'm like, what is a genetic counselor? Like, literally didn't even say hi or like loved the lecture, nothing. Just those were the words out of my mouth. And so she starts talking to me about it, and I can feel it. My eyes are getting big. Like, I swear they're like a globe at this point. And she's like, is this something you're thinking about? And I was like, yeah, because this sounds amazing. Like, this just sounds absolutely wonderful. I'm not going to get into the semantics of what a genetic counselor is, because we'll be here for another 20 minutes. So if you're curious, listeners, just Google it. So anyway,
I would guess that the basics is that you counsel people about genetics.
I do. That's great. Perfect. Good job. So there's the basics. So I said I do as if I'm already a genetic counselor. But anyway, so I'm like talking to her about it and she starts kind of laughing. And she's like, it's really funny because you were like, I don't know if I want to do natural science or social science. And here you are, you picked genetic, which is natural science. And then you picked counselor, which is social science. And you put the two together and you literally met them right in the middle. And I was like, cool, this is amazing. So I literally left that class and went to my advisor at CCAC and was like, this is what I want to do. So like, let's schedule classes for next semester because this is where I want to go. Right. And so we start looking at it and everything. And then she goes, oh, okay. So it's a master's degree. And I was like, I'm sorry, what? And I'm like, I'm driving home, to my mom's, who lives in the middle of nowhere. And so it's like a 45-minute drive from the school. And I'm driving home. And the whole time, like, I didn't have the radio on, which means it's serious for anybody who knows me. I have nothing on in my car.
Do you audibly talk out loud in your car in those moments?
Yes, I do.
Yeah, I do too.
Yeah. Yep. And so I'm like gripping the steering wheel and I'm like, how am I going to tell my mother
If anybody were to look at me in those moments as they're driving past, they'd think I was angrily talking to somebody on my phone, hands free. Little do they know, just insane. And I'm talking to myself.
Exactly, 100%. And I'm like stumbling through trying to figure out like, how am I going to go home and walk through this door and tell my parents, yeah, by the way, remember when I said 2 years, but what you don't know is I'd already decided 2 years wasn't enough and it was going to be 4 years. I actually have to tell you it's going to be 6. What? Like, how do I do that? How do I walk in the door and do that? And so like
I'm just going
I
to pause
called.
for a second to state that my phone storage says it's going low. So I'm just like stating for myself later that I'm pausing my phone recording, but keep going.
Okay. But so yeah, like I was like, how do I actually go forward here? And I called like a family meeting and it was like, so guys, I know what I want to do. Like I figured out what I want to go to school for. And they were like, that's great. Like I remember them being like really happy for me, right? And then I was like, it's a master's degree. Like, and you could just see that wheel for a minute being like, that's 6 years.
Yeah.
And so of course, you know, still have a happy ending because I did move out. But yeah, so that was the moment. It was in CCAC science building, intro to bio, and I heard the words genetic counselor and I was like, whoa, what's that? That's me in the future. 6 years from now.
That's really cool. Well, I guess not 6 years because you said you weren't going to get a master's, but
Yeah, no, it's definitely going to be more than 6 years now. But in the moment, I was very like, yes, I'm going to do this in exactly 6 years and I will be a genetic counselor.
yeah,
So, you know.
I thought I remember like going into CSUMB thinking I would go into a PhD program. Because
Yeah.
if you don't know this, you can virtually skip your master's and go right into a PhD program, and you'll just kind of
Right.
collect a master's while you're there.
Right.
So I guess I meant like the royal you, like if you personally or the other people listening didn't know that. So that's what, yeah, I kind of thought I was going to go do that because there weren't a lot
You're
of.
much more ambitious because I absolutely would have never been ambitious enough to be like, I can totally get a PhD.
It was just like, it's kind of almost the thing to do for math and stat majors, I feel like, which is unfortunate, but it's just so many of them do that whenever you really don't have to. And I think I know like at CSUMB, the stats department is trying really hard to reach out to people and tell them like they don't need their masters. They are very credible at this point in their lives and you can totally give them a job. Like, no, they won't start out as high as somebody with a master's, but you can start them and, you know, like increase as you go. It's actually great business
Right.
opportunity for you because you don't, as a business, have to pay somebody a master's level pay. So anyways, yeah, but my venture wasn't as streamlined because we did the whole healed spiel. And then
Right.
I was like, I just have to start over. So I go to Hartnell College, which I'm going to say that I love Hartnell, but I'll probably complain about them a lot. So
The first podcast, Hartnell love, rest from here, it's going to be downhill.
like, I think if you love something that much and you're so passionate, you just find a lot of flaws in it. So
Nice save.
I start at Hartnell and there aren't really counselors there. It's cheap ass community college. And they're just like, what do you want? What are you going to go to school for? And I'm like, I don't know, teaching. And so they're like, cool, here's all the classes you need, bye. And I wish I was exaggerating, but your counseling sessions are literally only like 10 minutes and that's what they tell you. And they hand you paperwork and you get out of there. So
Meanwhile, I'm in with my advisor at Penn State for like an hour.
well, the CSUMB system is very different, but for Hartnell College, that's the first complaint. And then so I just go to my first semester for teaching. That's where my first psychology class was. It was child psychology, and childhood development was another class, and then some gen ed stuff, whatever. And then I was like, I don't know why I'm going for teaching because my first like class, the child development class, she was talking about all the paperwork you have to do, and I was like, I don't want to do all this paperwork. I just want to teach kids. So like, this isn't for me. I'm going to switch it. And then I was like, nurses make a lot of money. And I live close to, not close to, but I live pretty close to a prison that a lot of nurses work at, and they make really good money because it's a state job. So I'm like, oh, I'll just change it to nursing. So the very next semester I go, you know, to the kid, he's literally like 18 at a desk. And he's like, what do you want? And I'm like, oh, I need to change my major to nursing. And he's like, here's a paper, bye. These are all the classes you need to take, bye. And so then I don't mean for that semester. They give you like what you need to take to graduate, and that's it. You shouldn't need to see them anymore because they want
Oh, that's
to not
beautiful.
be bothered. So that's what I did. And so I'm doing this nursing thing, and I'm taking all these bio classes, all these psych classes, nutrition, anthropology. And by
I
like
loved my anthropology class.
I did love anthropology, but then I get to the point where I'm about to take, so here you can become a licensed vocational nurse, or you can become a registered nurse. Licensed vocational nurses need less school and you get less pay. But you can always go back and acquire your RN pretty quickly. So you usually apply for both programs at the same time.
Right.
Because out of like, I don't know, 200 students a semester, they can only accept like 30 to each program. So it's super duper competitive. So I get to the point where I can apply for the LVN program, and then I will take microbiology next semester to apply for the RN program next semester if I don't get into LVN this semester. And I go down to the counseling department to ask where the application is for the LVN program. And they were like, oh, you were supposed to turn that in yesterday. Right? Like literally, yes, like yesterday.
And you were like, I love you guys.
And I was like, cool. I thought you guys were just starting workshops to tell us how to apply. And they were like, yeah, but you should have taken those last year to know to apply this year. And I was like, cool. So
hey, thanks for the advisement on that.
I was like, I don't know what I'm gonna do. I can't just do nothing for a year, and I can't like all I have to take next semester is microbiology to get into the RN program. So, but then so the thing was like, even if I had taken microbiology that semester, I still wouldn't be able to apply till the end of the year. So I'd still be doing virtually nothing for a year.
What a
And
system.
then I was a caregiver of an old man that was a statistician before he was an old man, getting caregiving services. And so I was like, oh, I've always been good at math. I think at least I did good in high school. So I'll just like do a math degree. And I was looking up math degrees through CSUMB because you have to transfer
Right.
and stuff. So then I was like, okay, go back to the guy at the counseling office, tell him I'm changing my major to math. He gives me the paperwork, I leave. And so that very next semester I took trigonometry, pre-calculus, statistics, and I took an English 2 because originally as a nurse you only need one English class. If you're transferring to state college, you have to take a second.
You just described like the absolute biggest nightmare semester for me ever, because there was so much math.
My least favorite class was English 2, and it was like one of the least stressful semesters I ever had. So most of the time you can take trig and pre-calc as one course, and technically you should take them in high school, which I did. But since I went to college like way after high school, I needed to retake them. So yeah, so that's what I did. And then from there, in my statistics class in Hartnell, which really isn't statistics at all now that I look back at it, but it's a good intro, I guess. That professor was like, I think you should look into being a statistician because you really like this stuff, blah, blah, blah. And he had known me from whenever I had to take an intermediate algebra course, because nurses have to take intermediate algebra. So again, I should know that, but since I hadn't gone to college in since I hadn't gone to high school in like 7 years, that's where I was. So anyways, yeah, so then that professor in that stats class was the one that got me into looking into statistics. So then it comes time to graduate from Hartnell, and I get my psych degree, and I get a math for transfer. And I go to transfer to CSUMB, and literally like in the midst of semesters, they were like, hey, we're starting the first ever statistics bachelor program, because usually statistics majors were only in master's programs or PhD programs. So you'd have to get my original plan was to go to CSUMB as a math major with a statistics minor and a what do they call it? It's like a focus in computer science. You basically double minor.
Right.
Because statisticians need computer programming skills. So luckily they offered the statistics program so that you only take a statistics major, and then you can choose to minor in a computer science thing, I did not officially minor in computer science because I didn't take enough courses to call it a minor, but I took enough to know what I was doing to then like get a job. But yeah, I always think about like all the stuff that happens that leads, like I remember that moment so clearly of looking at that lady and being like, yeah, I need to know how to apply. And she's like, you were supposed to turn that in yesterday. And again, she's like an 18 or 19-year-old chick, right? Like she's out of high school doing like her work study. She doesn't give a shit. Like she doesn't care about this job.
No, she doesn't care at all. And you're just like, you just literally crushed my entire life.
Yeah, and I'm like 25.
And she's just staring at you.
And I'm just married. And she's like, you're supposed to do that yesterday.
Oh man.
But yeah, I guess it's been close to an hour. We should probably wrap it up. But I think that was like the biggest questions I had. But before we go, I lost my train of thought. I went on my Instagram. I'm obsessed with Instagram stories, which you can also see on Facebook, but I don't like do Facebook stories. I just do Instagram stories and then they share to Facebook. It's a whole thing. So I went on my Instagram stories and I was like, hey, I'm starting a podcast and I'm going to interview my sister. I did not tell them anything about what this podcast was named or themed or anything. And I didn't tell them what this interview was about. I literally just asked, like, if you could ask your sister anything, what would it be? Right. So I'm just going to ask you these questions. And I think like half of them won't make sense, but they're really funny. And then you can just give me your best answer that you have.
All right.
So I'm also not going to divulge who asked them. But if they decide to listen to this, they will, feel special on the inside. So are you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay. Question 1. What are your plans in life to not suck off mom's tits anymore and get a job?
So, we just kind of covered that through the whole podcast.
That's why it was so funny. I had to ask it first. The best one.
So, brief overview. I'm a full-time student in Penn State, and I'm getting my bachelor's degree in BBH, minor in psychology, and then presumably from there I will get a job. That's the dream, at least.
This was more serious. What is my most annoying habit to you?
Oh man. Okay, but like I don't think you don't do this anymore.
Oh, what is it?
It was the nails thing.
Oh, like me biting my nails?
Yeah, but it was specifically like how you would kind of just like chew on your nail. Like and I'm like, what are you doing? Like,
I've had so many people tell me I looked like a crack addict, like mid-bite, because I'm so like voracious about it. I don't do it
honestly
anymore.
Like it was terrifying. It was like rather horrifying actually. Like I would just look over and you were like this deranged chipmunk. What?
Like I wish
I went to town on your pinky and I'm like, what are you eating your finger?
I wish I had a readily available before photo of my nails. These are plastic on top of actual nails that are long, just so everybody knows.
Your nails are pretty long though now. Like you've
yeah,
done
underneath
so good.
they're long. I have officially stopped biting my nails for 1 full year and like 2 I think almost 2 months because it was September 1st of 2020.
Speaking of 1 full year accomplishments, it has officially been a year since I quit smoking.
Oh, congratulations. I wish I had like a party popper.
Thank you.
Like but yeah,
I also wish you had a party popper. That would be
I am at like 3.5 years of no cigarettes. But yeah, the nails was really, really tough. I didn't think I'd ever quit. But yeah, I quit for sure with like the help of Color Street, not sponsored by Color Street, just shouting them out. And then for my 1 year anniversary in September, I went and got fake nails on because I've never been able to enjoy like fake nails because my nails were literally stuck. I didn't have nails, they were stubby fingers. Yeah. And the Asian people would be like, oh, and they'd be like, and like trying to glue plastic nails to the skin.
Yep, it was horrible. Oh my God.
Anyways.
So that would be it. That would be the most annoying thing that you do to me is like when you would just sit there and bite your nails. But I'm sure I could figure something else out if you didn't live in California and I didn't live in Pennsylvania and we were like near each other.
Yeah, if you spend enough time with me, I'm sure there'd be a less.
Right now, I'm sorry, let me change it. The most annoying thing is that you live in a different time zone.
Oh, okay. So what is your most sentimental memory of us?
Oh,
Yeah, I wasn't expecting that one whenever somebody
that,
asked it.
yeah. Wow. Okay. Touching. So it must not have been anybody we know together.
It's
Uh,
not.
um, so wow, there's a
Actually,
lot
none. I don't
though.
think any of these were from people that we both know, but yeah.
That's surprising because I definitely thought the first one was like a sibling. Uh,
Uh-uh. No, it's funny though. It's from somebody I went to high school with.
that's funny. Okay, so I would probably say, oh wow. Okay, well, I'm gonna be cheesy, and it's so stupid to be cheesy, but it's gonna be your wedding.
Oh
Like
yeah, that's a
specifically,
yeah.
specifically, it's gonna be like that you asked me to sing the song that you danced with dad to. And that was like a really like obviously I know that was a very special moment for you as like, hey, it was your wedding and you're doing the father-daughter dance. But like to be a part of that, to say that like I got to stand up there and sing the song that my dad and my, let's be real, favorite sibling, uh,
Sorry to all the
you
others.
know, I mean, I'm really not sorry actually, but
Yeah, me
uh,
either.
if Alexis ever watches this, you're very, very, very incredibly close second. Uh,
For sure.
but yeah, I would say it's that, like to
That's
have
cool.
that memory there where I got to like really watch and be an actual part of that moment.
That's cool. The first one that came to my head whenever I thought of it, it was not actually one where we were physically together. And I don't know that if I've ever told, maybe I did tell you this, I don't remember because my brain is shit these days. But whenever you had your kid, just in case, just in case, I don't want
Yeah,
to be like get in trouble for name dropping it, but even though you already
you're good.
did, whenever you had your kid, Jimmy had called me and been like, can you call Michelle? She's like, she won't reach out to people, but she really needs support right now because you couldn't pick him up because you had the C-section. And it
Oh,
was like, so then I called you and you were like crying and trying to talk to me. And I always remember that moment. I'm getting like teary eyed, like thinking about it. But yeah, that's always like the one that it's not even like an in-person moment, but yeah. Cause I had no
that's
idea because
wonderful.
it was like literally an emergency. So I just get like a
Yeah,
group
I
text
didn't
that's
have,
like,
yeah, this group text that's like, Michelle had her baby.
yeah, it was like
Like,
Michelle needs a C-section, and I'm like, oh, okay, because I had a C-section, so I'm like, cool, keep us updated,
yeah,
and
like,
that's
all
oh,
right, cool,
that's pretty
everything's
much the
good.
next thing I get. I think it was like I got that the baby was born, or maybe you had texted me a picture or something.
Right.
But yeah, so I always think of that one.
Well,
But the
because
wedding
because
was cool.
there was a solid hour where like everybody was like, oh, okay, cool, yeah, you can totally hold the baby and you can even nurse the baby for the first time. And then they were like, by the way, we're gonna take him to the NICU and you're not gonna be able to hold him for 72 hours. Cool, cool. But I was like, no,
Yeah,
let's
that's rough, dude. That's really rough. I would be, yeah, it would be bad.
yeah.
Okay.
So well, I never knew that like I never knew Jimmy. That's okay. Don't give me feels for Jimmy.
I know, right? It's weird. I thought somebody had died because Jimmy never
Oh,
calls.
geez.
Nobody ever talks. Jimmy never talks to anybody. Jimmy never calls anybody.
I know, right? He
I was
doesn't
like,
though.
oh God, something drastic has happened. And I think it was because he like dad was there or dad had just visited or
So
something. I don't know. Anyways, we're not going through these
yeah,
quickly at all, but I knew we wouldn't before I started.
I mean, it's
So
us. So I think you knew that was coming.
the next question is, how come you're so mean to me? And then the person said, no, don't ask that one. I have a better question.
Are you also going to ask the better question?
Yeah, it's the last one.
Okay. So I just need to clarify, am I being mean? Like, are they asking if I'm being mean to the person that's asking, or why am I so mean to you?
No, they were literally like, if I could ask my sister anything, I would ask her, why is she so mean to me? Because she's the worst. I was like, oh, okay. Similar to the first one, like they are very sick of their mom. I mean, their sister sucking on their mom's titty. Like they're very sick of it, clearly.
That's amazing. That's amazing.
It's
Okay, well, so if I have to live in this fantasy world where I'm like mean to you, I guess I would have to answer that I'm so mean to you because I remember all the times that we would fight for like 10 minutes and then 30 seconds later be like, let's go see a movie together.
yeah.
But I just want to spend time with you. That's all it is. Just let me love you in my weird, twisted, I hate you way.
The last one's pretty similar to the sentimental one, but this person, after they said, "How come you're so mean to me?" said, "No, just kidding. Ask her what is your favorite memory of us." So I guess it could be the same as the sentimental one, but I don't know. They could be different.
I don't think it would be I mean, I really think that like my favorite memory.
I think I'm reading your mind right now.
Can I don't know, probably not. Can I like, okay, I'm just gonna do it because it doesn't really matter because neither one of us work for Steak and Shake anymore. It's definitely the evening, day, I don't know, because I was working overnights, but like the moment that you woke me up at some point in the day and were like, I want to go get this pit bull.
Oh, this was not what I was thinking. Okay.
And then like there was the whole like, yeah, family member we're not going to mention on this podcast died and I can't come into work tonight. Meanwhile, we're in Ohio. This dog with money that absolutely should have been for rent.
Yeah, for sure.
And it was just like this weird, like, I don't know, fun, wholesome, like I feel like that moment kind of embodied our entire relationship that we had up to that point, where like it was fun, spontaneous, random, stupid, like incredibly stupid.
So my memory is similar in the same time. It was whenever we went and bought squirt guns to have a squirt gun fight in the apartment complex.
Oh my god, yeah. I forgot all of that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Was that also no, that wasn't the same day because we definitely didn't.
No, but it was like around the same time. We were both working.
No, I was thinking was that the same day that we went like snow tubing or sled riding or whatever?
No, I think that was still like right after high school, maybe. I don't even think we were living together for that one. I don't
think we were either. Yeah. Well, no, I was thinking about when we went to South Park to go sled riding. Like we specifically went to which is also a really funny memory because
I thought you were talking about the one where we were sled riding on the mounds in the parking lot.
On the mounds at the parking lot. Yeah, no, I love that one too because I love that we just grabbed the trash.
And the fact that we're sled riding in a mall parking lot on top of giant mountains of snow. Right. Like, it's ridiculous. I mean,
it was fun though. I had a blast.
I still remember it. And that was like way before the drinking days. So that
was when you had your bug. That was when you had your little bug.
Aw, R.I.P. my little bug.
R.I.P.
Although it was a curse because then everybody knew where I was. So back in those days, I was not living a life of honesty. And people would be like, bitch, you're over here. I can see your damn bug. So
was that the car you had before or after I wrecked your?
That was after, yeah, because the Mercury Capri was the first one, and then the bug was right after it, and then I got the Saturn.
Yeah, I think it's just kind of amazing that I wrecked your car and you're still like, all right, I love you, and you didn't kill me when I came home.
Well, I mean, I don't even know how old we were. It was a long time ago, and it's a car. It's a really shitty car. So yeah, I guess if you were to come to my house now and visit, and then like drive like an asshole and crash technically my husband's mom's Camry, then I'd be upset. But okay. I'd be like, God damn it, we're almost 30.
That's true.
Get it together.
That's true. We were like 19. And I feel like probably in that moment you were just kind of like, like, I don't care. I'll just get another car. It's fine. Because you don't think about actual like money in life at 19.
I didn't. Some people do. I did not. All I could think about was cigarettes and alcohol and sexual partners. Yeah.
I went the safe route and chose the word boys.
I was gonna say dick, but I was like, oh, maybe I'll keep it PG. But
she was like, let's go out the window with that.
Yeah. So yeah,
I would just like to throw out and I'm sorry to our children.
They'll never listen to this. We're like old and lame.
That's true.
They won't even know what podcasts are whenever they're adults. It'll just be something like Facebook that old people do.
That's true. All right, good. I like to know that I'm possibly not sending my child to therapy by doing this.
But I am so grateful that you were on episode 1.
I am so grateful that you asked me to be on episode 1. I'm so excited to be like your first little picture in the square thingy.
Oh yeah, I need to add that. So I'm hoping to actually post this tonight.
Okay.
But if not, we'll see what happens. It shouldn't be that hard, honestly. But yeah, so I'm gonna stop this recording, but then we'll just call and talk to each other.
All right, sounds good. Yeah.
Thank you for being on.
If you remember in the beginning of this, we're sisters, guys. So
like I'm biased. So I like my first guest. I don't think I'll like all of them, but I like this one.
If it makes you feel better, you're my first host of a podcast and I like you too. So that works
Oh,
out.
thanks. All right.
You're
Good to
welcome.
know.
All right.
Thanks to all the listeners. I hope you
Yeah,
liked
thank you,
this,
listeners.
I hope you liked checking out this story today on Jerry Berry's Friend-Tastic Library. All right.
I hope you continue to check out her fantastic stories to have later on.
Hopefully. All right.
Hopefully.
Bye.
Bye.